Hello and welcome back to Futuretoons, where we explore the intersection of retrofuturism and animation by looking at past depictions of the future seen in cartoons. Over the past few months, channel-wide, we've been featuring a lot of stuff from the turn of the millennium, the years 1998 through about 2001. This marked the arrival of the future long promised in media, the year 2000, and while we still didn't have flying cars, we did get the widespread use of computers and the internet. Technology was advancing quickly. There was an underlying distrust or fear of what this technology could do to us. Y2K, the computers turning on us. Being a millennial, this was my childhood. I have so many great memories from this period. You could say it's my favorite past, as well as my favorite future. I love cyberpunk, and during this time, a lot of movies or other media imagine the future through that lens, or neo-noir. I love this aesthetic. A great example of this also offered a glimpse into the future of Batman, Batman Beyond, which we are going to be looking at today. Like in the Simpsons episode, this is not a wholly original future. We are seeing the tomorrow of a well-established world. Full disclosure, I am not a huge Batman fan. I love comics, but I'm not really into superheroes. Most of the stuff I read is indie stuff, people exploring their personal trauma, that sort of thing. But I have read a lot of the more popular Batman titles, like The Killing Joke, Year One, The Dark Knight Returns. I also grew up with the movies and TV shows, so I am familiar with the character and the world. In case you are not, I would like to quickly look at Batman's past, just so we can better understand its future. Batman first appeared in Detective Comics number 27, published in 1939, in The Case of the Chemical Syndicate, a story written by Bob Kane. Kane is generally credited with creating Batman, though it was done with some input from fellow comic artist Bill Finger. A lot is established in this comic, most notably the wealthy Bruce Wayne moonlighting as the Batman, a mass vigilante. Generally, Detective Comics were just that, comics about detectives, but Batman was an attempt to introduce a hero similar to Superman, who debuted the previous year. Success. Batman was an immediate hit. I think it's so interesting looking back and seeing just how far these early superheroes have come from the world they grew out of. Still, so much of that world has informed the aesthetic of Batman. Gotham City came from the late 30s and 40s Art Deco design, the elongated, rounded cars. These all make appearances well after 1939, as we will see. Also, in terms of retrofuturism, 1939 is a very important year. This is when the New York World's Fair was held, featuring GM's Futurama exhibit, definitely a well-trodden topic here. This was a huge cultural event, and as such, many well-known characters attended the fair, including the heroes of DC Comics. I know this video is about Batman, but Superman actually had an entire day dedicated to him. July 3rd, 1940 was dubbed Superman Day at the fair, with activities geared towards kids, including a parade featuring a live-action Superman. DC also had a limited run comic that was sold at the fair, New York World's Fair Comics. This ran 2 issues between 1939 and 1940 and featured stories of the heroes against the backdrop of the fair. Here, we are seeing Batman and Superman the first time they ever appeared together, along with Batman's sidekick Robin, who had recently been introduced in front of the symbol of the fair, the Trilon and Perisphere. Batman and Robin's story involves a trip to the fair, as well as terrorism, Dr. Hugo Vichro targeting bridges with a device that destroys steel. It should go without saying, but Batman was incredibly popular. Stories would continue being published in Detective Comics, but Batman would also be spun off into its own comic that is still running today. Moving forward in time, in 1966, we got the colorful and campy Batman TV series featuring Adam West and Burt Ward as Batman and Robin. I'm sure for many who were not reading comics, this defined Batman. As a reaction to this, throughout the 1970s and 80s, the character was portrayed much darker. That's when we got The Dark Knight Returns in Year One, both written by Frank Miller, who was instrumental in moving the franchise back to a more serious tone. In 1988, Alan Moore and Brian Boland's The Killing Joke pushed the character even further into darkness. This momentum led to the Tim Burton adaptation, 1989, which I think is a great mixture of seriousness and camp. Since then, in live action, we've seen a bunch of different takes, from the brooding Christopher Nolan trilogy to the homoeroticism of the Schumacher sequels, with Batman proving to be a pretty versatile character. As this series is about cartoons, and Batman Beyond serves as a direct sequel to it, I have to mention Batman the Animated Series. This was created in 1992 by Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, and Mitch Bryan. This series is divorced from our timeline. It's aesthetically based when the character was created, while still seeming current to the time it was produced, if not, somewhat futuristic. Like I said with Batman 66, Batman the Animated Series defined Batman for many who weren't really into comics, like myself, and introduced many characters and villains who are not yet featured in the movies. This also established the past of Batman Beyond. The character designs and art style carried over, as did some of the voice cast, like Kevin Conroy's Bruce Wayne. So yeah, let's get to Batman Beyond. As a reminder, we are not here to break down and review the media itself, though I will chime in here and there. Our focus is on the future it presents. Now, generally with TV shows, there are so many episodes that detailing every prediction would take days to cover, so we are just going to be exploring Rebirth, the two-part episode that kicked off the series, because I think it sets up the world pretty nicely. This first aired January 10th, 1999, as one hour-long episode in prime time, with it being split the following 2 Saturday mornings on Kids WB. That's where the series would air until its cancellation in December 2001. Similar to Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond was produced by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, along with Alan Burnett. It begins in 2019, no real indication that we are in the future here, just an aging Batman who can't get the job done anymore. At one point, he actually pulls a gun on a perp, which is the last straw. He retires. We then jump ahead 20 years, 2039, a century after the character was created, into Neo-Gotham. Neo-Gotham is somewhat modeled after Metropolis from the Fritz Lang film, not Superman, which you can say about a lot of future cities. Gotham City was already very similar to Metropolis, as both were inspired by the growing American cities in the early 20th century, like New York and Chicago. It's heavily inspired by anime as well. Akira, Neo-Tokyo, Neo-Gotham. The late 90s was when anime really broke in the West, and its influence can be seen all over the series. Because of the size of the city, public transit travels vertical in these passenger elevators similar to subway cars. Traffic travels on elevated highways. There are some flying craft, mainly used by emergency services and the rich. Most vehicles are still wheeled. They do have some pretty interesting designs, though, still in line with the rounded 1930s town cars. The news is reported by virtual anchors, a la Max Headroom. One interesting choice is that TVs are still boxy. In a lot of retrofuturistic media, we get flat screens accurately, though here, not so much, though they do appear to have a wider picture. The soundtrack is a mix of trance and industrial music, which is, for the time, was what people thought the future was going to sound like, along with some other songs that sound like something Rob Zombie would produce. Terry Mcginnis is the new Batman. He is a high school student who develops a relationship with Bruce Wayne after losing his father in a similar way to how Bruce lost his parents. In this future, Bruce Wayne's company, Wayne Enterprises, has merged with Powers Technology, headed by Derek Powers, who is the antagonist of the series. Around the turn of the millennium, corporate mergers dominated the news cycle, the biggest being the merger of AOL and Time Warner. For some Batman lore, Terry battles the Jokers with a Z, a street game that models itself after Batman's greatest foe, the Joker. The Joker, Mark Hamill, would make an appearance in the direct-to-video film Return of the Joker, which actually has a little bit of controversy around it. It was so violent and so close to the tragedy of Columbine that it was actually edited and delayed, though an uncensored version exists commercially today. Batman Beyond has expanded to other mediums, comics, obviously, as well as video games. It also spawned the spin-off, the Zeta Project, featuring Zeta, a robot assassin who has a change of heart and decides to dedicate itself to good. This ran 2 seasons from 2001 to 2002. Now, before we go, there is one more Batman feature I'd like to look at, Batman Year 100. This was a 4-issue miniseries that was written by Paul Pope in 2006. Just like Batman Beyond, this takes place a century after Batman's creation, 2039, and presents a very different future than the one seen in Batman Beyond. This is a more dystopian Gotham, a police state with a Batman that is far from the wealthy, tech-rich Bruce Wayne. The only advancements in technology benefit the state and its surveillance. There are no sleek designs here. The architecture hasn't changed, only crumbled, which I think creates an interesting contrast with the Neo-Gotham seen in Batman Beyond. Definitely worth checking out. And that's about it for today. Let me know what you think. This was not meant to be exhaustive, and I am no expert, so feel free to correct or comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon. That's the only place to see Future Film, which is just like the series, only looking at past predictions of the future, seen in movies. We just covered Judge Dredd, another comic property. $5 a month gets you access to that, as well as dozens of other videos and series. Patreon.com/picsandportraits. As always, thank you so much for interest in this channel, and thanks for watching. See you in the future.